they're building something specific and they've got all these things and they're kind of Frankensteining together, what they need in Excel. And then they see the custom financial reporting tool and you can almost hear the music, ba, 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 ba. They're loving it.
Right.
I've been waiting the entire time to find some way to throw that in.
Welcome to Restaurant 365 Presents Behind the Numbers, a show where we talk to restaurant owners, operators, chefs, kitchen managers, CFOs, and everyone in between about what makes successful restaurants tick. Before we get started, quick reminder, like and subscribe to this show wherever you're watching, and please consider leaving a review. It really does help us continue to bring you these incredible guests and conversations while we continue to grow and support our amazing restaurant community. And with that, I'm your host, Mark Cohen.
And I'm Rich Sweeney. And we're thrilled to be here today with Josh Lacer-Watkins, CFO for McDonald's franchisee Ice Age Management, Inc., which operates more than 50 locations in and around North Carolina. Josh has more than 20 years of experience with McDonald's, ranging from director of operations to a business consultant, and of course, now a CFO. Josh holds a bachelor's degree as well as an MBA from Colorado Technical University. Josh, welcome to Behind the Numbers. Let's dig in.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thrilled you could be here today.
Absolutely. So we always like to start out with kind of like one big question. And for you, what do you think? What's one really important thing that leaders should be focused on for store operations, for finance? Like what should be on top of everyone's mind?
Yeah, I think, I'm a CFO, so margins is always going to be my good.
Yeah.
From an operator's perspective, it could be growth, which ties to margins. It could be, people and HR management. It could be a mirror of things. But from my desk, it's margins, right? Your margins being where they are, open up possibilities for all kinds of stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, it's really where we operate on those razor thin margins as it is. So if you can get a little bit more wiggle room, a little bit more to grow off of, definitely makes life a lot easier for you.
Right. Right.
And then we always like to, kind of talk about some of the numbers behind things. So 50 locations. How long have you guys been on Restaurant 365?
A year, actually, now. Almost a year.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, thank you. It's been
I love that. Isn't like the traditionally isn't the first anniversary gift always paper anyway?
Nice P&L. A nice, beautiful P&L with good margins on it.
Just maybe green paper and we'll be fine.
I love that. And then, 50 locations. How many employees do you guys have?
We have about 50 to 55 per location. Yeah, so
okay,
quite a bit. And
just a couple.
Yeah, just a few. And then we've probably got 25 to 35 that are above store.
Okay.
And then with all those people, all those locations, how many invoices per month are you guys typically seeing, kind of pass through your desk or pass through R365?
Between 1,800 and 2,000 a month.
And how many of those are automated?
Not many.
Okay.
We are old school.
We got work to do.
Yeah, we're old school. We still cut checks and sign checks and put them in envelopes.
Uh-huh.
We like to see it in front of us and evaluate it and run it through workflows and all that good stuff.
Good traceability, accountability.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that.
Yeah.
Paper trail.
That's correct.
Back to the paper trail.
Yeah.
So how long have you been with the company?
I've been with Ice Age going on 4 years now.
So when you came on board, how many stores were up and running at that
They
point?
had 46, and we've fluctuated, and some of that's outdated. So we came on at 46. We got up to 53, 55, then back down to 53, and now down to 46. So we are in a blessed position to where we can look for the right locations. We can look for the right markets. We can determine which markets we want to be in, which ones we don't, and kind of which geographical direction that we want to expand and grow in, and strategically make moves to do that. So, currently at 46.
And so one of the things you talked about immediately was growth potential, right? So,
Yes.
is that sort of been your focus coming in, like setting the company up, having strong margins, good profit lines, and then that gives you the ability to scale and grow. And you can go to a bank and say, hey, like we're ready to go on to the next project, and they're not going to hesitate to sort of back you guys.
Right. Yeah. I mean, managing your ratios is key for growth. Managing your relationships with McDonald's Corporation is key for growth. Operational.
Got to keep the mothership happy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Operational KPIs is key for growth. Luckily, we've got a very strong operations team that makes those conversations that are coming across my desk easier. And so, all those things above are key for growth. And then you have to have a strategic plan on how you're going to get there. You can't just go to the bank with, hey, well, this is where I want to be. You have to, show a strong pro forma and, how your infrastructure is going to look and what's your next 3 to 5 look like. And so there's a lot to it. But yes, our growth strategy is pretty aggressive. But top to bottom, KPIs all the way to margins, we've set ourselves up to be successful to do that.
Cash flow is king.
That's
it
right.
Always will be.
Yeah, right.
See, I just never knew the accounting side of it, so I only just knew it as cash is king. But yeah, cash flow is king too. I get that.
Right.
So I think I've heard you talk about yourself as being sort of obviously a numbers nerd, right? You love, and sort of a fractional CFO.
Yeah.
Because it's not, you guys are now Ice Age, you're not just doing McDonald's. You've got some other business opportunities you're working on outside of the restaurant space?
Yeah. So McDonald's is my main gig, but I do some fractional CFO work for some other brands that are just supplemental income that I do kind of as a side business. So
I love that there's a CFO with a side hustle.
Right.
Like, and it's so not like, oh, my side gig is just, being an old fractional CFO. Like it's just, that's just such a next level of like business and accounting that I don't know that I will ever actually get to, but I aspire to someday.
Yeah. It's a good tax strategy, and I'll kind of leave it at that. Right. I'm not going to give out my tax strategy, but it's a good tax strategy.
Well, we could talk about that offline.
Yeah. We'll DM you. We are seeing more of these fractional CFO roles, though, pop up.
Yeah,
These restaurant groups are getting to a certain size, and they might not be able to bring on somebody full time, but having that sort of consultative, I find when you get to that 3 to 4 unit sweet spot, you need to bring in somebody else that's going to help you sort of steer the ship in the right direction.
Yeah, and there's, it's interesting you brought that up because I have an opinion on that. A fractional CFO can be very beneficial for the right person, especially in the restaurant industry. So you can, in my opinion, you have to be very careful when you're thinking about FP&A in the restaurant industry, right? You get the wrong analytics that diverts your operation team down a path that you end up stepping over dollars to pick up pennies, right? And so, from an FP&A standpoint, you may start diving into product mix and say, well, these are our high profit margins items. We need to push those. We need to do this. And your FP&A, person, if that's who you have on staff, has your operations team kind of scrambling. And as opposed to really just sticking to the basics, we want good food. We want good customer service. We want to be, in our industry, we want to be fast. We want to be efficient. We want to be accurate. And by all means, if you're hitting on all cylinders in all those aspects, and you are starting to look for how can I move the margins a little bit, by all means, that FP&A comes into play. But in the restaurant industry, you don't see that often, right? Typically, you don't see everybody firing on all cylinders. So the fractional CFO comes into play is where you can get somebody outside for specifically what you want from financial reporting, right, to KPI understanding and reporting, that you're not paying a full-time, CFO that raises your G&A, but you get what you're looking for. That doesn't take 45 hours a week or 50 hours a week. So I think that's why you're seeing that grow, is people are starting to do that internal analysis on how do I get people that understand the restaurant industry, understand restaurant business, can zero in on what my needs are, and give that to me, right, without having a large G&A line item.
Well, and how important is technology in that piece? Right?
It's very important,
huge,
right? Yes. Yeah. So, as I would consider you guys in the AI arena. As AI continues to grow, some of this, of course, I just said we're old school and we're pushing checks, but it's a small piece, right? As opposed to some of the legwork these days that used to go into accounting, AI's taken over a lot of that. So now you are, all right, if those things are done, how do I get somebody in a seat that can analyze it quickly, right? That can present it efficiently, that can not just be a reporter and say, all right, here's your financials, but be able to talk to them. Here's your financials, but here's what I see. Here's where you're
right. Here are the insights. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so that's what you would be paying for, and it aligns well with kind of where the AI is going.
And so you've been using R365 since you came for about a year now, you said?
Yep.
Leveraging it for full accounting suite, doing all the accounting, running that through there.
That's correct.
So you've got transparency, daily numbers, daily labor, daily sales. Is that,
yep.
Prior to R365, did you have that level of transparency or that level of real-time sort of data?
No, I came from Microsoft 365, which is a fine ERP, but it lacks a lot of the integrations that are what I would consider vital now. Right, an integration with your POS system that is bringing in that POS data is so important. Vendor integrations I didn't have before, which is super helpful and efficient. And so, I didn't have that before. And then two, the one thing that I had to do, and the reason I chose Microsoft 365, is you have ERPs that have these basic out-of-the-box financial reporting. And there was things that I wanted to do from a financial reporting standpoint that I used Microsoft 365 because of their integration with Excel. And so externally, I was building custom financials and just linking them to my ERP, which was fine. But as we all know, when you have financials in Excel and formulas, you got to open yourself up to every now and then you get, well, that's obviously not right, and then you've got a lot of homework to do. So when Restaurant 365 came along and they showed me the custom financials, I showed them what I was doing and they showed me what Restaurant 365 were doing, and they're almost identical. And I was like, well, dang, that's exactly what I need. That eliminates some of that. That's a direct part of my ERP. So it was a big selling piece for me.
That's one of my favorite things that we've ever built is that custom financial report.
Yes.
I feel like so many people are in a similar boat where they're building something specific and they've got all these things and they're kind of Frankensteining together, what they need in Excel. And then they see the custom financial reporting tool. And it's just like, you can almost hear the music, ba, 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 ba. They're loving it.
Right.
I've been waiting the entire time to find some way to throw that in.
Yeah.
Well played.
That was a good entry. Yeah.
That was terrible. It was terribly corny of me, but I had to do it at least once.
But you're not wrong, because if you're coming from somewhere where you're running 50 P&Ls one at a time, and then you're able to do it with a single click and generate 50 financial statements, who wouldn't be loving that? That is a massive time saver.
Yeah. And in the ones that I created, it was built out in a dashboard, through mostly pivot tables that were interactive by store, patches, consolidated, and then you get to Restaurant 365, and it's a mirror of what I was doing without all of the back end headache, and then too without the back end price. So to get to a good integration with Excel through my old ERP, you have to go out to a third party, right, to get some kind of link to that. And it's just through a data feed, right, that feeds it into.
Right.
But it's still a cost. And so, when you start doing the cost analysis, you're like, well, not much different than what I was doing. So, I gave you guys a hard time when I first came on because I had everything set up the way I wanted to. And I was like, do I want to do it? And, for Miranda and Michael, I gave them a hard time, but it won me over quickly. And now we're a year in. Yeah, we're a year in, and I'm an advocate, and my ops team is absolutely in love with it. They love the visibility. They love the ability to look at invoices. I now feel like I have 7 to 8, admin accountants, right? Because they'll send me emails and say, well, I don't think this goes to this GL account. And it always makes me laugh when I say GL account, because it's such a nerdy thing to say. But that's how they've been trained. And that's only because they've been working with Restaurant 365 and their integration, their communication with me. And so when we have conversations about P&Ls, they're getting some of that training, and it's so valuable. And we've been able to zero in, and we have improved margins. And I would say part of it is through operations. A lot of it is through transparency and the ability of the folks to see what's happening with their financials and understand it. So a combination of all those things, it's paid off tremendously.
I love hearing these stories, especially like a year in, we're assessing the ROI on the solution.
Right.
We're looking back and being like, hey, this is sort of paying for itself at this point.
Yeah.
The other thing I love about what we do and what you talked about is this sort of like Morgan Harris, one of our co-founders, he always talks about it being the accounting team moves from being sort of seen as overhead to this operational support system. And to your point, the operators, I love that, the flip of that, almost become administrative accountants because they're now looking, everybody's looking at the same data, and it's really transformative.
Right. Yeah. And, once you get everybody driving in the same direction, it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've noticed it, with your folks as well. But for me, when I was using R365, kind of that thing, like, cause you're in there, so you see it. So you're thinking about like GL accounts and credits and debits, and it actually helped me get a better understanding of when I was looking at my financials, because I could drill into it. I could have, now I can see where this came from. I could follow the money better. But then also I felt like it made me a better operator because I wanted to know where those numbers came from. And if something didn't seem right, then I could kind of poke at it and see, kind of follow that thread to see where something might have gone wrong. And then I can also have those conversations with my accounting team that weren't just, the typical accounting and operations battle. Yeah. Like, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. Like we're screaming at each other from across the table. Instead, it was like, well, no, this is wrong. And here's what I found. Can we look at this together? And then realized, oh, hey, maybe something got, the GL date got put to the wrong place or something like that. And now we're realizing like, oh, we can work on this together because we're all going the same direction. We all want the business to be successful. It just helps eliminate those roadblocks that sometimes can get in the way when you're speaking accounting versus operations.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can throw up a Teams call and share your screen and really just from your custom financials, just hit one GL account and pull up all the transactions, and then there is really no question. So, I know a lot of operators, outsource their financials, and they'll get, a PDF from their CPA or their group or whoever. And the conversation then is back and forth through emails. Well, why is this higher, or why am I spending more this month than I did last month? And to me, extremely inefficient, right?
Yes.
Throw it up, you dive into it, you're both looking at the same thing. You can do it independently, you can do it collectively, but you see all of the transactions that go in there. And once again, that's been beneficial for my team. Is they're like, well, why am I spending, last year I spent this and this year I'm spending that. So when they did their budgets, they were thinking they were going to, budget about $1,000, and then it comes in at 1,200, and they're, what's happened? Well, they go in there and look and see. oh, we paid more for here, or we got some more landscaping stuff done. And in the course of a business day in operations, you forget some of that. So it's good to go in and look and see where you spent the money, and then plan for the future, right? So if you know, well, usually when summer comes around or fall comes around, we start doing some spring cleanup, and let me remember that for next year, right? So when I'm doing my budgets, that I can account for that, and just getting everybody comfortable and on the same page is helps that process.
I also, I'm a big proponent of, look, if this is going to take more than 3 or 4 emails, let's just get on a phone call.
Right. Yes.
Because you're right. It's not an efficient way of communicating when we're trying to solve a problem. It really is not. I agree with you 100%. The other rule I love was, I think it was Jeff Bezos. He said, if there's more people in a meeting than a large pizza can feed, you've got too many people in it.
Right.
That was good.
Right.
Very true.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Now I want pizza.
It's funny. I grew up in Canada, and a lot of people don't know this. I remember when McDonald's tested pizza. They tried to do pizza at one point. It was only in the Canadian markets, I believe.
Right. Yeah.
And it was a big deal. And I don't think it ever came to the U.S. So I might be the only person who will call it McDonald's pizza.
I obviously heard about it, but not in my time. Yeah.
I'm aging myself a little bit there. It did happen at one point. So you were talking a little bit about, I get not the value prop of McDonald's, but, sort of menu engineering and figuring out what's selling, what's not selling.
Yeah.
I'm assuming a lot of that is coming down from corporate in terms of how you guys are positioning yourselves.
Yeah. I mean, we have the luxury of managing our own menu boards, right? And so
that's great. Local
store marketing, if we want to do that. And I just mentioned that really in the realm of the fractional CFO, because
got it.
And coming from the corporate world where I did some data analytics for them, I was always very cautious when you have an FP&A person that is sitting in a cubicle, has never worked in a restaurant, has never managed a group of people, has never interacted with customers, to come down and just is basically running numbers and saying, oh, I think this is a good idea. And then you get decision makers leading the way towards that, towards the, whatever that analyst kind of discovered, if you want to call it discovered. I'm just not in that boat. I'm if we want to increase our margins and be more profitable, let's get more cars through the drive-through. Right. Let's increase our customer satisfaction score. Let's decrease our accuracy complaints. Let's focus on our internal customers, which is our people. Are we treating our people very well so that we're not turning them over, which directly reflects customer facing metrics. So
absolutely.
That's kind of the boat I'm in, but I'm kind of in a unique position where I spent so many years in operations, and then I went into the financial side. And the corporate side, so I've kind of seen all 3 different legs, if you want to call it that. And so, I'm always rooted in operations, which I think is beneficial for what I do.
100%. Yeah. You talked about, the FP&A person in a cubicle is too far removed from day-to-day business to really, they can run the numbers and do the analytics, but there's that secret sauce, right, that you've got from being in the trenches, so to speak.
That's right. Yeah, and go back.
I worked in secret sauce, Rich, just for you.
Right. Thank you. A secret sauce one in there. Yeah. So you could. There's an argument to be made to say that some of our McCafe beverages have great margins, and if we sell more, that's beneficial.
Right.
Absolutely. But we've learned through some trials and tribulations that you can be great at a few things, or you can be mediocre at a lot of things. So if without operational knowledge, you divert a lot of people's attention, effort, and energy into one certain bucket, then you may take your eyes off of some of the other things that are going to yield you far more benefit if you stay focused.
Absolutely. And I think, that's part of that. I love that you have the operational side and then taking it over to, like you said, kind of touching all the different buckets for the corporate side and for the financial side. Anytime I get to talk to a leader who's done the different facets of restaurant space. I feel like it's that well-roundedness that makes it so you're approaching things from a very different, it's not just the stereotypical CFO mindset of credits and debits and just crunching the numbers. It's really looking at like, okay, but how is this going to have an impact on everything else? And ultimately, taking it back to your people, as that internal customer. Cause like you said, that if you lose them, that's turnover, that's higher costs that you're going to run into. It's going to run into operational issues. You're going to run into, it just stacks up. So I think having that framework is just a great way to approach it. So I appreciate that.
Right. Yeah. And, when the one thing that I think that my team enjoys is when we get on calls and we are able to talk intelligently about not only the financials, but how the trade-offs are, how the, pushes and pulls go. And if we do one thing, how does it affect another thing from an operational standpoint? And so, we're able to have those conversations, and I can reflect on my experience. They can reflect on theirs. And we just have a very meaningful conversation, which I think is so vital when you're talking about financials and growth and improvement, is that you can talk to your CFO and they can relate and they can empathize and they can also strategize with what you're seeing in front of you.
Which is not always the case, right?
No,
so I'm curious about, it's not.
I'm
curious about this feedback loop, right? So you've got a feedback loop happening with your management teams. Internally, do you have any sort of feedback loop with the employees and the managers? How do you, other than turnover?
Yeah.
How do we check the pulse?
Right. Yeah. No, it's mostly for hierarchy for me. Obviously
Okay.
They have those conversations, but they are able to use me as a thought partner. And I want to make this move, that move, and this move. And then if I see something that's going to be impactful for the financials, or if they ask, I say, how is this going to affect one of my line items? I can give them kind of that foresight and kind of just have that conversation about what the impact could be. So that's why I think it's beneficial. And like you said, it's very rare that you see that. Most people either go into finance or they go into operations. You don't see it, very very often where you have that diversity. But I think it's beneficial. So I would say any CFO needs to go work in a restaurant for a little bit.
we think everybody should have to
put them on fries for a little bit and look back and go, well, you were slow on approving that invoice. You'll have a little bit more empathy.
Right.
See what they do in the restaurants every day. You might give them a little bit of buffer.
Yeah. Sense of urgency is not a bad thing to have.
Right. That invoice is important to you, but in the whole grand scheme of things, it's not right there at the top of the list. Right. So a little bit of that, building that empathy would be beneficial to anybody, I think.
And then the other feedback loop you talked about briefly was your guest feedback loop. So how are you capturing the majority of that information? Is that through the app or is that through online reviews?
Yeah, we have that. We have a third party that does that for McDonald's side. And then for the fractional CFO work, it's third party as well that is capturing that information. And it's just understanding the information and the feedback that you're getting from your customers, looking for trends, understanding customer sentiment. And, while they're not direct financial conversations, they do everything that you do in the restaurant rolls up to how your financials are performing. So understanding a lot of those things when you're having those conversations, once again, if I'm just a thought partner, or just a sounding board, that's fine, because I know that once again it all rolls up to the financials, right? And everything's got
the bottom line. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I do think going back to AI, there's an opportunity there as well to data mine those insights, those guest trends
right.
we talked about, and really pull out those gold nuggets, I think, as Rich called them.
Yeah, and they give you insight into your operations for sure. They'll tell you if you're not focused on accuracy. They'll tell you if you're not focused on friendly. They'll tell you if you're not focused on quality. And so it's in my mind, it's a gift, right? It's also, obviously it's a grade, kind of grades you, and
Yep.
take that personal. But my thought is it's a gift, right? They're telling us how we can get better. And if you use it that way, you can continue to improve. And our operations team is fantastic when it comes to stuff like that.
The gifts are in the numbers.
That's right.
It's we've talked about this on the show before with a couple of other operators. It's always telling when you see those guest trends at certain stores or those turnover numbers at certain stores. It's indicative of obviously a bigger problem, typically management at that point, right?
Yeah.
It's just like combing through a P&L, combing through that data, and getting to the root of the problem.
Right.
Super critical because we talk about sales, we talk about food costs, we talk about labor, but this sort of guest engagement piece has really become the focus, I think, for a lot of the people that we're working with, because driving top line sales fixes everything, right? Like sales is king. And unfortunately, our software is not going to get you more people through the front door. It'll help you control everything below that. But
I think if you have a mindset of how everything kind of links together, I would say it does in a roundabout way. If you move stuff off of your desk that takes you away from decision making, takes you away from pivotal communication and conversations and strategy, then it absolutely is a help. Right. And so if you're spending your time on building custom financial reports, right, externally, or spending your time sending emails because you want somebody to approve an invoice and you got to wait for them to get back to you, right? Then you got to re-upload it. So all of those things that you eliminate that keeps you away from decision making and communication about strategy and moving forward is absolutely a benefit. So I hear you, but I tend to disagree a bit. Right. The things that Restaurant 365 does gets us to decision making much faster.
Much faster.
Yes.
It's a great point.
Yeah.
And so we typically, when we're wrapping these things up, we look for some sort of hot take on the industry.
Now, wait. You can't have a hot take on, well, actually, I'm kind of curious your hot take on bringing back the snack wrap and what you think of the new chicken versus the old chicken, but I don't want to put you in any kind of trouble.
Right.
So I guess, we could stick to our normal format for a hot take, which is, what's something from the industry that you wish would go away, would change, would just leave us and the world would be a better place for it.
I don't know if anything to change. I think really when I look at the restaurant industry as a whole, we are more and more in an environment where consumers and customers are switchers, and you have a small minority that's brand loyal, but it is people's tastes are fluctuating from day to day. They want to try new things. They want to try new experiences. And, luckily in the McDonald's world, we have some built-in brand loyalty, but that's still stuff that we have to struggle with. And, I hate to revert everything back to operations, but I think it's so imperative that you operate at a level that entices consumer sentiment and increases your market share because of how you're operating. And so, I think that's just a dynamic in the restaurant industry that I think it's only going to continue to be a challenge with switchers and people moving into the space and giving consumers more options, right? You go down a busy street and you have so many options to choose from. Why do you stop at the location that is ours and that we would like you to come to? And it's just being consistent, and it's through solid operations, and which leads all the way to financials, which makes me happy.
Back to our margins.
Right.
We've come full circle.
That's right.
All the way back around.
Well, Josh, I really appreciate you joining us today. I thought this was a great conversation. If you want to connect with Josh, he's on LinkedIn, Ice Age Restaurants through their website. It's iceagemcd.com. And of course, wherever you are, there's McDonald's probably not too far away. So
right.
I'm loving that part.
And I'll be in San Diego with you guys in September. I think.
Oh, fantastic. So if you want to meet us all in person,
That's right.
come to San Diego.
Come on out.
September 23rd.
That's right.
Everybody gets to come hang out on my hood, chill out down here.
Yeah, that's right. We're in Rich's backyard. So
Exactly. I'll take you on a tour of all of my favorite McDonald's.
Yeah. Are you doing one of our CFO sessions?
I'm doing a couple of breakout sessions. I don't know which ones they've signed me up for, but I may be on the main stage. I may not. I'm not sure.
Awesome. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You might be with me. We might be chatting soon.
So
awesome.
People like to throw questions at me. So I told them I'm available for what they need.
I feel prepared now.
Awesome. Well, Josh, thank you again for joining us. And of course, thank you to all of you who are joining us, tuning in. We hope that you have a great day, a great shift, great quarter, wherever you are and wherever your restaurant may be. And don't forget, if you've got time to lean, you've got time to listen while you clean. So like and subscribe everywhere. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere that you like to listen. You can follow us across all social media on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. And of course, you can visit us at restaurant365.com. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.